This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, contract expirations and the companies that are interested in these wrestlers. This star has been written off of TV for a while, and Pat McAfee is the commentary nomad. We're going to take a look at all of that. We've got some discussion on Randy Orton. This is your all-in preview for Sunday's pay-per-view with AEW, helping me break it all down, sort it all out, give his perspective. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Well, I think it's safe to say I've completed my wrestling belt collection. I cannot add any more. There's physically no more space. The WWE ripped every single penny possible from me when they released the college football belts. Had to get it. Donning the Michigan State belt now. I think I got 11, 12 belts. I think the collection is officially complete. The wife cannot tolerate it anymore. She's like, how many more boxes are coming with wrestling belts? The kids are like, okay, Dad, stop with the belts. And I'm like, okay, it's good. The collection's complete. It's really nice. It says Spartans will. They're getting better and better with the quality. So I'm very happy, excited for this week of wrestling. It was really solid. AEW putting their best foot forward to put a pay-per-view on, and they've told a story really that we haven't talked about a lot with Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland that could go both ways, and that's all you can ask for when you dive into the main event because of the story that they told. So I'm excited to break down the pay-per-view. I think it's going to excite, and look, just by seeing Dynamite and the way in which the crowd interacted, it just made this week's AEW so much better. I'm excited to break it all down.
Yeah, that crowd was super hot, absolutely fanatical. It made that show, and we'll get into all of that a little bit later on in the podcast. But first, very quietly, Randy Orton signed a 5-year extension with WWE. This wasn't really talked about. There wasn't a lot of publication, not a lot of fanfare regarding it. Nobody really knew it took place. It turns out it took place a little bit ago. With that extension, he's going to be with WWE for the next 5 years, so until 2029. And he's going to be the focal point of next week's pay-per-view, which is Bash in Berlin, where he's going to be taking on Gunther. So we started kind of kicking stuff around, kind of talking a little bit, and we're trying to plot out what the next 5 years should look like for Mr. RKO himself, because Randy Orton is one of those guys he's getting up there in age, but he still looks fantastic, still does a great job in the ring, has the ability to make guys, has the ability to put guys over, still is taken very, very seriously, and is considered an upper card talent. This isn't just some guy who's getting old and he's super mid. No, this is a guy who still draws, who still is a moneymaker, and who is still, like I said, at the very top of the card. What do you think the next 5 years should look like for Randy Orton? Again, 14 WWE championships. He's a guy who could go on and challenge. Look, John Cena's coming back for one more hurrah. I think John Cena might get one more run as a world champion, breaking Ric Flair's record. This is a guy who could go on over the course of the next 5 years and break that record if John Cena sets it. So where does Randy Orton go over the course of the next little bit in his career?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because clearly at some point you're going to want to get into and dive into the Cody Rhodes situation from the past. The podcast that they did was really emotional and really solid. Cody Rhodes should get credit for the work that he's doing now with these interviews. And you realize, okay, another match with John Cena. But it's interesting because currently his return since Survivor Series has been overshadowed by CM Punk, which initially on that same day was overshadowed by CM Punk. So Randy Orton needs to kind of get a story, and it's probably going to get to Cody Rhodes eventually. That will be the meat of his run, I think, the next year or two. But I agree with you. I just think it needs more. He needs a story. He needs a feud. He needs to get into something. A charity title match, because he's had a match before with Gunther, is fine. I get it. You're always going to have him in the title mix at times, but everybody in the world knows he's going to lose. So you need a story evolving for him. I think that's the key, is that a lot of the older mid-card guys don't, older guys that are in the mid-card or in the top, they don't have meaningful stuff that you can latch onto. So that's what he's got to get to, is a story that is meaningful that can carry the next thing. And of course, he's going to have to put over some people and get the next generation prepared. But it's going to be a fun ride over the next 5 years, and it'll end his career.
Yeah, and look, I'm in lockstep with you. I don't necessarily think he's going to bash at Berlin and is going to win that championship against Gunther. I think this is a way to really help elevate Gunther even more, really help put him over. And I do, over the next 5 years, see him taking on Cody Rhodes, challenging for that championship as well. There's a lot of history there that you can kind of lean on, and you can build a really cool story out of it. I think with that specific story, though, you need to go slow. That needs to be one of those slow builds. That can't be one of those things that they just kind of turn and burn. I feel like this match with Gunther, they laid the groundwork a little while ago, but this seems like it's happened quickly. I feel like you could have really have drawn this out, and you could have really have added some layers to it. They just didn't do that. They're just trying to get to this pay-per-view, get through this pay-per-view, and let these guys move on. So I totally understand, but if you're going to do this with Cody Rhodes, you need to lean on that history. You need to develop those layers out. I think at a certain point, he's got to get another championship title run. He's got to get another World Heavyweight Championship, whether it's taking it off of Gunther, whether it's taking it off of a guy like Cody Rhodes, whether it's taking it off of a guy like Seth Rollins when he comes back. He needs to get at least one more run and move that number from 14 to 15. And it's going to be interesting to see how his body holds up the next 5 years. This is a guy who's dealt with a lot of catastrophic injuries. Yes, he looks fantastic. Yes, he looks great since he's come back from his back fusion. The thing is, it's his back. When your back goes, it becomes one of those things that's kind of like a ticking time bomb. He takes one RKO the wrong way, it could become a major issue, and the guy might not be able to go on after that. So I think he's got to get one more title run in him. I think you got to do the Cody story, and then after that, it's kind of gauging where he's at physically, because if he's got the ability to still go, he's got the ability to be at the top of the card, you can put him in some interesting matches. I think as John Cena's working his way out the door, I think those two need to have one more match, because those guys came up together. Those guys went through OVW together. They wrestled together. So I'd like to see them have one more go-round, one more storyline. And, from there, like I said, we've got to kind of gauge where he's at physically. But for me, it is getting through this thing with Gunther. It's the Cody Rhodes. And I want a slow build for Cody Rhodes. It's one more match with John Cena, and then he's got a title run somewhere in the mix. I don't care who he takes the belt off of, but he's got at least one more. If that title runs against John Cena, that'd be great. John Cena gets the mark to go past Ric Flair, and then Randy Orton's the guy to take it off him. I think that's a great way to add some symmetry to their careers. And I think it'd be a fantastic way for Randy Orton to kind of send John Cena out, and then for Randy Orton to kind of fade into the sunset with his career. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. And look, he's a fantastic talent. Guy's got all the talent in the world. Like I said, still looks great and still gets the job done. So a fantastic career. It's going to be highlighted over the next 5 years. It should be pretty great. All that being said, let's move on to AEW here, because this is what the show is. This is all about the All-In pay-per-view. This is our preview show. It's going to be taking place Sunday with the 0-hour pre-show beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So you can get this off of Bleacher. You can download it off of your pay-per-view providers. There's a couple of other streaming sites that you can grab this pay-per-view. I think before we get into the actual preview, I do want to touch on what we got from Dynamite. And we're going to work in some of what happened on Dynamite. We're going to sprinkle it through these predictions here. But like you said to open the show, I thought this crowd was exceptional. They were incredibly hot. They were into just about everything. So kudos to the Glasgow crowd for being so extremely over and just taking over the show at certain points. I thought it was fantastic. Now, I'm expecting the same thing from the Wembley crowd. The Wembley crowd should be white hot. They should be incredibly excited. Right now, I believe the stadium is configured for about 54,000 people. I think at this time, AEW has pushed a little over 50,000 tickets, so there's still some tickets available if you're looking to go. I mean, I don't know if you can hop a flight and head out to London by the time this gets dropped, but there are some tickets still available. It'll be interesting to see if they sell it out. All right, let's jump into it. Our pre-show match is going to be Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway taking on Willow Nightingale and Ishii. Who do you see winning this? Again, we've got a long storyline between Statlander and Stokely, as well as Willow. Now, Willow and Ishii are part of a group that consists of Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe as well, and Orange Cassidy. So these guys, these two, as far as Willow and Ishii come together, they've come together to take on Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. Who wins this match?
I like Chris Statlander. I think that this next year should be a year for her to kind of take a step to continue her career. I like what she brings to the table. I think that when I look at Chris Statlander, I feel like there's so much potential there to push her. So give me Chris Statlander.
All right, I'm going to go opposite of you. I'm going to go Willow Nightingale and Ishii. I just don't think Hathaway is a viable competitor in this match. I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit more research to see what Stokely has actually done in the wrestling world as far as being in the ring. I believe he can move, but I don't think he's had this huge career. I think going up against a pit bull like Ishii and it's Willow Nightingale, I love Chris Statlander. I think she's fantastic. I think she's got a promising future ahead of her. But for this match, I think Willow Nightingale and Ishii win this match. Our next match is the Patriarchy, who are the Trios champions, taking on the Bang Bang Gang, the House of Black, and at this moment in time, it is to be determined. I believe there's going to be a match on Rampage, or it'll be on Collision for this fourth team. Now, this fourth team was originally supposed to be Death Triangle, consisting of Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta. And because Rey Fenix and Penta, the rumors are that they are going to WWE. This isn't happening now. They were originally supposed to be they were supposed to win these belts. So I'm not sure who's going to be this fourth team at this moment in time. You kind of got your pick here. Is it going to stick with the Patriarchy? Is it going to go back to the Bang Bang Gang? Or is it going to go to House of Black? I'm going to go with Bang Bang Gang. I think that Jay White is fantastic. I think you got to do a little bit more with him. I think you put these belts on him. It allows you to do a little bit more. I'm not sure what the status is with the Patriarchy. I know, unless you're looking to get Christian involved in a different storyline and having him chase, that's the only reason I think you take these belts off of him. And unless you're trying to highlight another team, that would be why you would take the belts off as well. So I think that could be the mix here, what they're looking to do. Who do you have winning this match?
See, because the Patriarchy just won it, I think it's too soon to take it off of them. I would go with the Patriarchy. I definitely am excited for Jay White to kind of get on a roll for the second half of the year. Clearly his injury stunk, but now that he's back, it's going to be fun. House of Black is always intriguing, but I think it's going to be the Patriarchy. I just think that you just gave it to him. You know, I love the fact that it's going to be chaotic with a four-way trios ladder match. I think it's crazy. But, let's see what happens. Let's hope everybody comes away healthy. But I think the Patriarchy retains.
I don't hate that pick. I kind of do like where your head's at with it. Moving on, we've got Chris Jericho taking on Hook for the FTW Championship. If Hook loses, he can no longer challenge Chris Jericho again for the FTW Championship. So that might be some foretelling in what may happen here. I'm going to go with Hook because, again, that's his dad's belt. I think he is going to win that belt back. It'll make for some interesting stuff. I think at a certain point you got to break Hook away from Chris Jericho, and I think this is a way to do it. You get the FTW Championship on Hook and let him kind of go do his thing, and then you can figure out whatever else you're going to do for Chris Jericho. But I've got Hook winning this match. Who do you have winning?
I agree. The purpose of this is just to get Hook to the next level. Working with Jericho, I think will succeed, and Hook is somebody that, as long as they can keep him in AEW, I like the way his trajectory looks. He's got to get into some more meaningful feuds and opportunities here, and to get the FTW belt back will be nice. I think the crowd will pop and appreciate it too.
All All right, you've got Jack Perry taking on Darby Allin for the AEW TNT Championship. Jack Perry recently unveiled a brand new TNT Championship. It's a little bit dark, looks a little bit beat up. It's got a pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. I think it's one of the better looking AEW TNT Championships that we've had in the past. So I'm thumbs up on the new look of the championship. Who do you have winning this? Do you have Jack Perry walking away with his belt, or does Darby Allin take it?
This is tough. The only problem is it's a casket match. So Darby Allin doesn't lose those matches. So it's tough because I would not be surprised at all if Perry wins it. But Darby Allin's going to do some wild stuff. It's going to be very telling. Does he lose his first time? I'm not going to predict it. I mean, the chances are this is the hardest decision on the card for me. And chances are Perry does win it because it is his time to shine and things like that. But I just think Darby Allin hasn't lost one of these in a while, or even if ever. So I'm going with Darby Allin.
Yeah, I'm going Darby Allin as well. The one thing that makes me lean towards Jack Perry is he just got this belt not too long ago. It was one pay-per-view ago to be exact. And they just transformed the belt. They just changed it. They made it look different. I think it looks pretty cool. So why would you invest all that money and invest all of that into the storyline just to have him drop it to Darby Allin? All that being said, there are now reports coming out that Darby Allin's supposed to be getting a bit of a push and supposed to be getting a pretty good look here. So if that's the case, does that time happen now, or is Darby Allin going to get put into something different? And again, the type of match it is, it leans towards what Darby Allin brings to the table. So I'm going to go Darby Allin as well on this. Now, we've got our Casino Gauntlet match. The winner gets an AEW World Championship match. This match is going to be interesting because this will be the match where you'll get some debuts. You're going to get a couple of people who are going to be special guest run-ins. You're going to get a lot of different stuff here. This match currently, what we know, Orange Cassidy is competing in it. Hangman Adam Page is competing in it. Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Eva Uno, and we are expecting that Ricochet will be introduced in this match. The other day, Ricochet was announced to have signed with AEW. It's a multi-year contract. Don't know how long and don't know what the actual dollar amount is, but it sounds like it was a pretty hefty contract, and it's going to be for, I'm assuming, at least 4 years. So Ricochet is All Elite, expecting him to be in this match, as well as a couple of other people who are going to be joining this match as well. This match right here, I think, will probably be one of the more anticipated matches on the card. And because we don't really know who's going to be involved in it besides the couple of people that we've named, if you get it right, if you hit it nail on the head, you get a bonus point. We're giving bonus points away. This is really difficult because, again, we don't really know who's all going to be involved in this. And it's going to be one of those things where you're kind of reaching in a hat, pulling out a name, and you're going to go with that person. I think this match, you could have Ricochet win it. Again, his debut. But I think when it comes down to it, I think Hangman Adam Page is going to be the one who wins this. There's been a lot of build. There's been a lot of storytelling. Hangman Page took out Evil Uno on Wednesday's Dynamite. They're supposed to be friends. Hangman Page at this moment in time looks completely unhinged, and I think because of that, it's going to favor him. So I'm going to go Hangman Adam Page. Who do you have?
It's intriguing that they did announce that Ricochet is going to be joining. You already got Don Callis tweeting. It's interesting. I mean, people already knew. I mean, there's no way you leave WWE without a guaranteed job somewhere. So I guess the art of surprise wasn't needed, but to announce it, I think it will build up the anticipation. It's a big show. So it's kind of like one of those deals where WWE does it at times where they just say, hey, this person's going to be there so that you anticipate it. I don't anticipate him winning. I agree with you. I think that Adam Hangman Page is the clear-cut favorite. I thought this is the easiest decision based on the names that were listed. But the best thing, the most anticipated thing in this match is what the hell Ricochet is going to do in his debut. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm going to say this. Ricochet's got work to do because this is one of those deals where he's betting on himself. He got a multi-year deal because he believes he's a wrestler. And clearly he understood that getting his ass beat every week on WWE and being on Speed and shit like that, being known for, basically at this point, he is Samantha Irvin's boyfriend. That's where he's at right now. Now, look, he's clearly got talent. And we know that it's there. He's had highlight moments in pay-per-views, and he's done a lot of great things in the indies. But at this point in time, his ladies overshadow him with the weekly posts that she was making, and she's become one of the most popular announcers in the world. So he's got to take this opportunity to build his character. Clearly, he can do the flips and he can do all that, but now it's time to establish the brand and do the thing and become a superstar. And hopefully AEW lets him do that. I think that the opportunity is going to be there to do that, and he'll flourish in this system, and hopefully the light gets shined on him. But yeah, Hangman Page wins it, but Ricochet has got to make a statement when he does debut.
Yeah, I agree with you. He has to make a statement. This has to be almost new life for him. You have to remember, this guy was fantastic in Lucha Underground, really made a name for himself on the indie scene, is a good friend with Will Ospreay, and they put on a banger of a match years ago, goes to WWE, gets a decent run in NXT, but when he got called up to the main roster, he was basically a high-profile jobber. He was the guy that they fed to everybody. So this to me, when he gets his chance, he's got to go bonkers, and I think he will. But I just don't think he gets the W in this match. I think he'll have a couple high spots that'll be awesome, but I don't think he gets the W in this match. Our next match, the Young Bucks, who are the defending AEW World Tag Team Champions, are taking on both FTR and The Acclaim. The Acclaim feel that they have a right to those belts. They have a little bit of beef with FTR, who has at times come to the aid of the Acclaim, but also have this history with the Young Bucks, and now they get thrust into the middle of all of this. Do the Young Bucks end up leaving Wembley with their belts again, or do we have a new champion in FTR or the Acclaim? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, it's been interesting. The Acclaimed are cold. They're not. Could they benefit from a heel turn? It's gonna be interesting, and things like that. So. Oh, man, this is tough. Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed. Would you rather see FTR or the Acclaimed win? I think it's just tough. I don't think that FTR or Acclaimed are at the level now where the Acclaimed has done it. FTR, to me, I just think that FTR's had 2 title reigns, so I feel like they need the belt more than anybody else. So this one, I'm conflicted. It's super tough. The way you look at this kind of match, I think all 3 teams would have something to gain from getting this. It's just, I guess the safest thing. I'm just going to take the safe route. My gut tells me a little bit FTR, but at the same token, Young Bucks deserve an opportunity to have a nice win in a big match. So I'm going to take the Young Bucks on this one.
All right, the Bucks for you. I'm going to go with the Acclaim. I don't know why. I don't have a good reason. I just feel like you've done a good job of getting them wins against the Young Bucks in opportunities that the titles weren't on the line, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. And the Acclaim have been great. The Young Bucks have been fantastic as well. FTR coming back healthy now, strong. I could see FTR winning this, but I'm going to go with the Acclaim. I just feel like you've done too much work. You've laid too much groundwork for them not to come away the winners in this match. So I'm going to go the Acclaim. Now we've got the AEW Women's World Championship. We've got Toni Storm defending her belt against Mariah May. This is a really interesting story. I thought this was one of the best heel turns that we've had in AEW. I thought it was fantastically done. And then I think kind of everything ever since that has kind of been blah. I thought the build, the turn, we knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. What we had was absolutely great. But the preceding weeks have not really done enough to keep me interested really in this match. And I kind of feel like it's one of those matches where it's a coin flip. It could go either way. I think Toni Storm's having one of her best runs in AEW. I think maybe arguably in her career. I think she's been absolutely fantastic with this character that she has and what she's been able to do. I think Mariah May flashing on the scene, kind of playing that subservient role to Toni Storm, was a good way to get her introduced and to get people interested in her. She obviously has some sex appeal, and she kind of has this vixen-like motif with her, but I haven't been really impressed with her on the mic. I haven't necessarily been super impressed with some of her matches. I don't know what we do. So with all of that being said, do we put a belt on her? I'm not 100% sure. How do you see this playing out? Because of everything I just laid out, Toni Storm's on an absolute crazy roll. Mariah May has kind of underwhelmed since the heel turn. Do you put a belt on somebody who has been a little bit flat since peaking, or do you keep going with the proven product in Toni Storm?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Toni Storm match on Dynamite was oof.
That was rough.
On the
that
wrestling.
was rough.
It was rough. I was
Her
like,
and
ooh.
Saraya. Oh, it was not good.
It was not good. But I just think that the way the story develops, look, I think the edge goes to the fact that this is in the hometown of Mariah May, so give it to her, give her the title, give her a chance to shine and build a new star. I think maybe for Toni Storm, the better work is with her chasing. So that's what I'm going to go with. I thought it was a tough decision, but I think Mariah May, you've kind of built her up as the understudy, and the understudy should have an opportunity to win.
You know, I like that pick, and as you were talking, I remembered thinking back to when that heel turn initially took place, and I think we talked about it. I think it's more interesting if Toni is chasing Mariah May, trying to get that belt. I don't think this will be a one-off. I think this will probably be the best of three. So you can have Toni Storm chasing Mariah May for her belt back, and I think you can build a longer story, maybe get a better story, and maybe get some better work out of both of them, Mariah May specifically. So I like your decision to go with Mariah May. I'm going to pick Mariah May for a couple of different reasons, though, and I hope we get a good match here. Toni Storm deserves to have a fantastic match. Mariah May deserves to have a fantastic match as well. We'll see what happens on Sunday. All right, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the card. This is basically main event time. We've got MJF defending his AEW American Championship, taking on Will Ospreay. I think this match, and you kind of seen the breadcrumbs laid out on Dynamite. This is going to be the match where Will Ospreay is going to pull out the Tiger Driver, and he's going to use it. That's going to help him win this match. I've got Will Ospreay winning this match. I think what we got on Dynamite was arguably one of the best reveals and unveilings of the psychological part of a wrestler with MJF. MJF coming back and finally telling why he's been obsessed with Will Ospreay, why he's been so upset with Will Ospreay. It's because the fans loved MJF until Will Ospreay showed up. I thought that was so perfectly done. I know a lot of people sometimes shit on MJF because they feel like his shtick is old, it's tired, it's the same thing. The thing about MJF that he does so well is, yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of the same tropes. But every now and then he'll pull a layer back, and there's a different layer to that onion. And on this one, it shows a little bit more of his insecurity, his psychology, where he's just a little bit fragile. And you got to see it on Dynamite. I thought it was fantastic. You got to see Will Ospreay really playing it up to the Glasgow crowd. I thought that was really fun. That was interesting. I think the whole thing holding him back, not using that Tiger Driver, I think that gets removed, and that helps him win, and that helps put him over, and it unleashes this new version of Will Ospreay. I think we kind of have this caged version of Will Ospreay, and this match is going to really help unlock it. I've got Will Ospreay winning. Who do you have winning this match? MJF retaining or Will Ospreay?
No, Will Ospreay, no doubt. I just think that it's going to be a great matchup. MJF is going to be looking to continue to prove that he's more than just a guy that talks. He can put on great matches. It's going to be a banger. Whew, I can't wait to see it. It's just the highlight of the week. You just got a couple matches where you say, okay, there's no chance it'll flop. It's just going to be, the crowd's going to go apeshit. The spots are going to be great. The psychology is going to be great. You just know, all right, turn it on. When's the MJF match? Okay, stop what I'm doing. Boom, I'll be watching. I can't wait. Will Ospreay, best in the world. Let's go. Let's see him get a nice pop. The entrance, the whole shebang is going to be great.
All right, our next match, Mercedes Moné taking on Britt Baker. I've been so underwhelmed with Mercedes Moné. I am begging for Britt Baker to win this match. This is for the AEW TBS Championship. Who do you think wins this? Is it Mercedes Moné, or does Britt Baker take that belt off of her and restore some levity to the women's division?
Mercedes Moné just got it. You got to keep building her brand, and it'll set up. I just think that Mercedes Moné maybe is going to find some shady way to win this, and whatever it may be with her crew. And I look at it like it's just got to be what it is. And Mercedes Moné, you just got to hope that it's a good match. But it's a little shaky in terms of her in-ring performances. It's been inconsistent. So I do think Mercedes Moné wins it, though.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to go Mercedes Moné as well, just for the simple fact that she just got that title. You don't want these titles changing hands constantly. I think you have Camille there. I think she plays a part. She probably interferes and costs Britt Baker this match. You can then run this back at a later time, do a little bit of a bigger build, and we can kind of go from there. So, unfortunately, Britt Baker does not win. Mercedes Moné does. This brings us to our final match on the card. Swerve Strickland taking on Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship. This is title versus career. This has been a bit of a rough build. This hasn't been great. They haven't really done a fantastic job getting you interested up until this week. On Dynamite, I thought Danielson cut an excellent promo. Swerve really healed it up, talking about Danielson's family. Danielson comes out, hits the Psycho Knee, gets on the microphone, and cuts a very impassioned promo and gets the crowd with the yes chants. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and basically on the flip of a switch has me believing that Danielson could possibly win this match, whereas before I was just writing down Swerve and Danielson wasn't having a chance because he's on his way out the door. Now Danielson's been working without a contract for a little bit now. He's just been wrestling, and they just kind of have whatever worked out that they have worked out. Sounds like Danielson's doing more backstage. He's trying to transition into that role to leave the ring. And Swerve, it sounds like, I don't know if people just didn't take him serious as the champion or not, because you had Will Ospreay, who really wanted to put him over in the last pay-per-view. And now you're going up against Bryan Danielson in a title versus career match where if he beats Danielson, he beat arguably the best wrestler in the world, or at least the best wrestler over the last 10 years, 15 years. Danielson's been absolutely incredible. Now I know he's at the back end of his career, but I mean, I don't know how much more you got to build Swerve up. So this is interesting. This is going to be a fantastic match. Again, I feel like it's kind of a coin flip. And when it goes to a coin flip, I like to go to you first. So who's winning, Swerve Strickland or Bryan Danielson?
Well, I know the career thing, but look, the man's beat up. What's he got to prove? I know he's had failed title runs and things like that, but to me, I think the damage you do to Swerve is irreparable if you have him lose right now. He's had a good run, but I don't think that Danielson is there poised to have a good 6-month run with his health and what's going on. The career thing, I think it was made to maybe make people believe that Danielson could win it, but he needs the time off. I think they culminated in him kind of doing his thing, and he can take more of a backstage role, and they'll figure out a way. You look, it's wrestling. He can come back and do something, and somebody can reinstate him for his career. How Swerve can do it just to say, hey, well, we need you here. Whatever they do to bring him back, Swerve needs to continue to validate the belt that he's got, and he started to do it, but if you give it to Danielson, you're just cheapening the belt, and I don't think AEW does that. It's a cute story. It's unfortunate. People are going to be sad, but look, Bryan Danielson, clearly we all know what he can do in the ring. He's getting older. How many wars does he really need? He's got young kids. He can take more of a mentorship role or a valet role or something, whatever he needs to do to stay involved. But this has to be the culmination of Swerve Strickland winning a main event at what is AEW's WrestleMania. So if you don't, it'll further dip the company in terms of their world heavyweight title. So to me, it's Swerve Strickland, no doubt. Entrance, shebang, good match, and Danielson will do the right thing by the company and put over somebody to make him go to another level. You got to do it.
Because I did have Swerve written down before you made your selection, so I've got Swerve as well. This is what I think, and this is how I think it's going to play out. I think you're right. You have to keep building up Swerve. It wouldn't make sense for Danielson to take the belt off of Swerve right now. Also, if you have Hangman Page winning that gauntlet match or the Casino Royale gauntlet, whatever it is, you have him winning that. That is the money match. That is what we're waiting for. We've been waiting for that match for well over a year now. That is the match that we need to go to next. That just makes sense. It's just good booking. Sometimes good booking is predictable booking, and that's where we've been tracking now for over a year. So it only makes sense that process of elimination, Swerve's going to win this. Danielson's going to go out. You're right. Danielson's having some neck issues, and on the way out the door, Danielson puts over the guy who has the belt right now. So it only makes sense to me. Calling the card, we check in with the points real quick. I've got a 4-point lead on you. Running back through everything. We both have Swerve Strickland winning. We both have Mercedes Moné retaining her belt as well. We have Will Ospreay defeating MJF for the AEW American Championship. We both have Mariah May dethroning Toni Storm. We are at a bit of a difference here. You have the Young Bucks retaining their tag team belts. I've got the Acclaim winning the tag team belts. We both have Hangman Page winning the gauntlet match, and whoever gets it right would both get the extra point here. If we pick Hangman Page, we both have Darby Allin becoming the new TNT champion. We're not 100% sold, but we just think it makes sense. We both have Hook winning, and then you've got the Patriarchy winning the Trios Championships, while I've got the Bang Bang Gang reclaiming those. And then you've got Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway defeating Willow Nightingale and Ishii. I've got Nightingale and Ishii defeating Statlander and Hathaway. Let's move on. You ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
All right, lots going on here with contracts. 2024 is the year of the contract, and we've got some contract expirations and the companies that are interested in some of these wrestlers. Daniel Garcia was last seen on AEW television in July, where he faced off against Will Ospreay for the AEW International Championship on Dynamite before he was viciously and bloodied by MJF. This was done in an effort to write him off screen if he did not re-up with AEW. Garcia's current contract is set to expire in October, and reports are that WWE is very interested in Garcia. It also sounds like Garcia is interested in WWE. People within AEW sound like they believe Garcia is gone. Now, sticking with contracts in AEW, Ricky Stark's contract is expected to expire this year. Stark was last seen on AEW television on March 30th's episode of AEW Collision. He was featured in a tag team title tournament match. Starks teamed with Big Bill against Top Flight in a match. Since then, the former FTW champion has not been seen on AEW programming. It's expected that Starks will be signing with WWE when his contract expires. Stark has a tie and an inroad to WWE, as Cody Rhodes is the WWE champ and his best friend, as well as his mentor. Recently, there was a press conference done for All In, and Tony Khan was asked about Ricky Starks and gave this very generic, not committal answer, basically stating that he appreciates Ricky Starks. He thinks Ricky Starks is a great wrestler. Ricky Starks is still with AEW, and he does great things in AEW, and that was kind of it. It was this very generic, weird response. So it does sound like Ricky Starks is headed to WWE. And former WWE Diva champion Saraya, frequently known as Paige. She made her debut for AEW back in the Grand Slam episode of AEW's Dynamite in 2022. In an update on Saraya's status with AEW from Fightful, Saraya's contract with the company extended until at least September, where there's an option for 1 year that's available for her. So they could re-up her for 1 more year, or they could possibly renegotiate for some added time. So Fightful is now reporting that the two sides have at least been in talks about a potential extension of her current deal, and it sounds like it'll be for about a year. So whether that's going to be that option that gets picked up at the back end of her contract, or they're going to restructure and sign a new contract entirely, it's unknown, but there has been talks about Saraya sticking with AEW. Now, this WWE star has been written off TV. 2 weeks ago on Raw, we saw a backstage attack to write off Dakota Kai. The backstage attack by the newly named Pure Fusion Collective. It's a horrible name. On Damage Control's Dakota Kai 2 weeks ago. With this update on her condition, it sounds like it's a torn meniscus. Kai is going to be sidelined for 8 to 10 weeks as she recovers from knee surgery. Really unfortunate. This is somebody who has had knee issues in the past, somebody who has got a bit of traction, then got hurt, sidelined some of that traction, came back, then got hurt. Her story with WWE has been absolutely crazy. It's just been a lot of injuries. It's a lot of coming back. It's getting released. It's coming back, getting injured again. And it just seems like anytime she's got some forward momentum, there's always something that kind of derails whatever's going on. And finally, Pat McAfee is the commentary nomad. On Monday night, it was announced that McAfee will be again leaving Monday Night Raw. He is slated to return in January when the college football season ends. McAfee re-upped with ESPN's College Game Day and will do that during the college football season. It was confirmed that after the college football playoffs, McAfee will roam back to the sidelines to announce for WWE. But in the meantime, for the next couple months, McAfee will not be on WWE television. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my brother.
Man, it's already been 4 years since Dominic Mysterio debuted. He debuted in late August at SummerSlam. My goodness, 2020. It's already been 4 years. He's involved in one of the biggest angles. And in birthday news, the Usos turned 39. It's crazy, man. It's wild that we look at it and you say the Usos and what they've done in their career already on the verge of turning 40. And then before we get out of here, you got to give credit now for Joe Hendry being over. I think that the tide's turning. He's getting himself in a championship match with Ethan Page. I don't think he's going to win it at the next NXT pay-per-view, but it's great to see him winning matches. The crowd loves him. I think it's time to kind of have him lose and get to the main roster. I wish that there wasn't ties to TNA, but man, Joe Hendry, it makes you watch NXT. It's a good product. They just keep recycling through talent, and you're hearing rumors of more, so I can't wait to see what happens. I think that Ethan Page is going to benefit from wrestling Joe Hendry. He's just doing his thing, and man, that song is catchy. You play it, you hear it, you just got to play it one more time. And if you go to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, if you go, check it out and see. I definitely liked some of his entrances. The full entrances are great. Even if it's corny as waving your hand side to side, he makes it sound cool. So I can't wait to see if WWE ever gets their full hands on him for a full contract to see what he can do, because, man, Joe Hendry's over. And it's just very hard to get over with something like that, with a catchy song and the ability to wrestle in the ring. So I can't wait to see it. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. If you're watching the pay-per-view Sunday afternoon, hit us up. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, and we'll definitely take part of our time to watch a great pay-per-view. Could be lengthy, but at the same token, opportunity to see a first-rate pay-per-view, and the wrestling's going to deliver. AEW, while the stories could always be better, and they definitely are taking a lot of shots lately in the media, you recognize that, all right, when it comes down to the pay-per-views, they always deliver, and Tony Khan's not going to embarrass himself overseas at all. So not in front of 50,000 people. It's going to deliver. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I'm the Doc, John Macaroon. I can't wait to recap the pay-per-view next week and get back into all the WWE news and notes on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.